Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be looking at PUMA's 3-step sparring syllabus. We'll look at all of the combinations from 1 to 6 and talk through the measures that the attacker needs to take, the techniques that both attacker and defender are going to use, and also the vital spots that should be aimed for when attacking and counter-attacking. Now, just for your awareness, we teach combinations 1 and 2, first up to 9th Cup Yellow Stripe students. Then we teach 3 and 4 to our 8th Cup Yellow Belt students, and then 5 and 6 to our 7th Cup Green Stripe students. Obviously, once you've been taught a combination, you should keep practicing it. So even once you're a black belt, you should know all 6 combinations. Okay. So, without further ado, let's start the tape. From here, we're going to have Mr Swain attacking first for combination number 1. And we'll have a defender is going to be stood in their parallel ready stance, their feet like so. And the attacker is going to take their right foot to the outside of the defender's stance with their foot halfway up the outside of your partner's foot, and then adjust your back leg into your walking stance. Okay, as this is the first combination, from there we're then going to bow to each other. And then the attacker is going to step backwards into a walking stance, outer forearm low block, which is the ready position for all 6 combinations for the attacker. And the defender returns to their parallel ready stance. Okay, make sure that particularly as a defender, whichever leg you move in to bow is the same leg that you move back into your ready position. Okay, from there, as I say, we're going to attack with walking stance middle punch, aiming for your partner's solar plexus. So that's the middle of the chest, about here, and which will allow the defender to continue a middle block with their fist at shoulder height. Okay, now it's quite common for attackers to punch, particularly when they're the same height, to the defender's shoulders because of how they're used to performing in their patterns and line work. But this can cause the defender to do a high inner forearm block. Okay, so something to look out for. Make sure you are punching to the center of the chest. After the third attack, on the spot, the defender is just going to do a middle reverse punch with a nice key up. Okay, so just a bit of finer detail on the footwork. From here, the attacker, as they step forward, is going to step to the outside of the defender's stance with their first step. And now that's going to shift their stance slightly over to their right in comparison to the defender. So their second step is going to go on the inside of the stance. And then the third step is going to take them back to the outside. If you've got 2 people of similar height, that third step should have exactly the same distance apart as the start. Okay, so the feet halfway overlapped. Okay, moving on to combination number 2. So this time we have an attack of walking stance high punch and a defense of walking stance rising block. So the block is much closer to the attacker. The block is much closer to the defender, and the attack doesn't go quite so far away from the defender. So we need to be much closer. This time the attacker will take their starting position with their back heel in line with the defender's back heel, and then adjust into their walking stance position. Okay, if it feels uncomfortably close, you're probably getting it about right. Okay, again, defender steps back into outer forearm low block, this time attacking towards the defender's nose, again aiming for that outside, inside, outside stepping. And the counter attack this time is an open fist strike to the nose. Okay. So again, heel to heel step, then adjusting the back foot, stepping back, outer forearm low block, high punch, met by a rising block, and then an open fist strike to the nose. Excellent. Okay, now moving on to combination number 3, so for our yellow belt students. Okay, this time we're attacking in L stance and defending in L stance. So defender, as always, is going to start in their nice parallel ready position. And for number 3, the attacker is going to put their foot in the center of their stance about halfway up, and then adjust their back foot into their perfect L stance this time. Even though the measure and attacks are going to be in L stance, the ready position is always walking stance. Okay, so from there, Mr Swain is going to attack into L stance middle punch, and myself, the defender, this time I'm going to step my left leg back rather than my right and do an L stance twin forearm block. 1, 2, 3. Again, that attack should be aiming for the solar plexus to ensure that front hand is a middle block. And then to counter on the spot, I'm going to sine wave, so generating that knee spring, and then punch with the closest hand, so the front hand. Okay, now because of the alignment of the stances, as the attacker steps forwards, on each step, the foot is going to be inside the partner stance. So we've got inside on the first step, inside again, and then inside for a third time. Okay, number 4. Again, we have an attack and defense in L stance. This time, the measure is going to be slightly different. So if I set up my defender's feet, because the attacker is going to be stepping their right leg back this time, we need the defender to be slightly across. So you're going to measure just on the inside of your partner's foot. So the attacker is going to move himself as far to the right as they can, and then adjust their back foot into L stance, and then as usual stepping back into a walking stance outer forearm low block. Okay, attacker stepping forwards, middle knife hand strike, and the defender is going to step back into L stance with a middle outer forearm block. Okay, now if you think about it, the attack for this one has to again come to the solar plexus to allow for the blocking tool, the outer forearm here, to line up with the attacker's knife hand. Some people will try and attack to the neck, but this will mean that either the defender has to block with their fist or perform a high block. So when you're attacking for number 4, keep those knife hands going to the solar plexus. If you've seen any international breaking, you'll know that a knife hand could still be very devastating, even going into the chest. And then the defender, front leg, front snap kick, and then stepping all the way backwards into an L stance forearm guarding block. Okay, this time, as the attacker's stepping forwards, because the defender is taking their right leg backwards, the stepping foot is going to go to the inside of the foot, then to the outside, then to the inside of the defender's feet. Okay, so just keep an eye on that as we play through for the second one. Okay, so we get inside, outside, inside. Front leg snap kick, stepping all the way back to guarding block. Excellent. Okay, moving on to number 5. Okay, this time back to walking stance for the attacker and defender, and a third distance. Okay, so if I set my defender's feet up like so, this time we've got a high section punch, but an outer forearm high block. Okay, so the attacking the distance that the attacker covers is the same as number 2, but the block is further away. So we need a little bit more distance or separation than we had in number 2. So the attacker is going to fully overlap their foot with the defender here, and then adjust that back foot into a good walking stance. Okay, so for the green stripes, remember number 5, the distance is somewhere between 1 and 2. As always, right leg back low block and attack, high punch and outer forearm high block. As we're in walking stance, the attack is going to be, or the attacker's foot is going to step to the outside, then the inside, then the outside. Defender, counter attack with a middle reverse punch. Okay, and the perils of attacking on the grass. Okay, so we'll just show you that one again. Okay, so attacker saying that foot to foot distance, high punch, high punch, high punch, and then a middle punch to counter. Okay, final one. So last one, combination number 6, back to L stance. And this time the measure is going to be exactly the same as it is for combination number 4. So over to the inside of your of the defender's left foot, stepping back into a perfect L stance to take your measure before stepping back to your walking stance ready position. Okay, and the attack exactly the same as number 4, walking stance middle punch, but the defender is stepping back, knife hand guarding blocks, and then a side piercing kick, and then stepping behind forearm guarding block. Okay, so just like number 4, the attacker is stepping to the inside, then the outside, then the inside. 1, 2, 3, side piercing kick, and stepping back into guarding block. And as always, showing your partner courtesy with a bow at the end. Okay, so in this video, we've shown you how to do 3-step sparring with a partner. I imagine not all of you necessarily have access to a partner who knows 3-step sparring at home. You can just as easily practice these techniques as line work. Okay, so you can tell yourself what the distance you need to set is, then go back into your attacker's ready position, so that walking stance, low block, 3 attacks, step backwards into your parallel stance, and then step backwards with your 3 blocks, your counter, and then step forwards into parallel stance. Cool. Okay, right, I think that's done for today. So happy training 3-step.